My name is Alicia Morse. I'm 34, and I never thought I'd be the kind of woman writing something like this, spilling my marriage across the internet like a warning label. But here we are. Pour yourself a drink. Honestly, make it a double, because this story doesn't start with screaming or cheating or smashed phones. It starts the way most disasters start, quietly. With love. With a life that looked good from the outside. With two people who swore they were building something together. Quick background. I'm 34, female. I'd been with my husband, let's call him Caleb, 32, for 8 years total, married for 5, no kids. And I'm saying that now with a bitter kind of gratitude, because the longer this went on, the more I realized children would have been the chain that kept me trapped inside the burning house. We met through mutual friends at a rooftop party in the summer of 2015, one of those Chicago nights where the air feels warm and expensive and everyone acts like they're already successful. Caleb had this easy smile, the kind that made you believe he had everything figured out. He was funny, ambitious, and somehow made big dreams sound practical. At the time, I was working my way up the corporate ladder. I'm a numbers person by nature, organized, careful, the kind of woman who color codes her calendar and double checks every bill. Caleb worked in marketing for a tech startup. He was charismatic in a way I wasn't. Where I had spreadsheets, he had ideas. Where I had caution, he had confidence. It felt like a perfect balance. We dated for 3 years before he proposed. Nothing flashy. Just an Italian restaurant I loved. A quiet moment between the entree and dessert. Him getting down on one knee like he'd been practicing in his head for weeks. I cried. I said yes. Caleb posted about it before the server even cleared the plates. I should have noticed the way he needed the world to witness our happiness. I should have noticed how quickly he turned our private moment into a public announcement. But I was in love. I thought it was excitement. I thought it meant he was proud. We got married in 2018. Small wedding, maybe 80 people. His parents paid for most of it, which felt generous at the time, like a warm welcome into his family. A year later, we bought a condo in Lincoln Park. 2 bedrooms, decent size, good neighborhood, the whole millennial dream package, hardwood floors, stainless steel appliances, and the illusion that we were set. Caleb had always been ambitious. When we met, he was making around $75,000 at that startup. Good money, but he talked constantly about wanting more, starting his own agency, being his own boss, building something from the ground up. It was that Instagram influencer entrepreneur talk, but he wore it well. He made it sound like destiny. And I supported him. God, I supported him. I make good money. Cleared about $140,000 last year. So when Caleb started circling the idea more seriously, I didn't shut him down. I told him, when you're ready, we'll make it work. I meant it. I believed in him. We had savings, about $50,000 tucked away, enough to cover expenses for a year if things got tight, plus my income. It felt responsible. It felt like we were planning, not gambling. So in March 2022, Caleb gave his 2 weeks' notice and launched his business. His agency name was painfully generic. Caleb's Creative Marketing Solutions. Yes, that was the actual name. Yes, it sounded like something you'd slap on a business card template at 2 a.m. But I didn't tease him. I was genuinely excited. He set up a home office in our second bedroom, got business cards made, built a website with one of those DIY platforms, the whole entrepreneur starter pack. He'd spend his days cold calling potential clients, networking at business meetups, posting on LinkedIn about value propositions and brand strategy. I'd come home from work and he'd be at his desk with his laptop open, talking about leads and proposals like he was already thriving. It felt real. It felt like we were building something side by side, me holding the foundation, him reaching for the future. The first year was rough, which I expected. Any business takes time to find its footing. He landed 3 small clients, a local bakery, a yoga studio, and a real estate agent who wanted help with Instagram. He charged them about $500 a month each, so he was bringing in maybe $1,500 monthly, which barely covered his business expenses. Revenue for year 1, around $18,000. Expenses, about $15,000. Profit, $3,000. Not great, but not catastrophic, not yet. Caleb got frustrated when clients pushed back or prospects ghosted him. He'd slump onto the couch at night, rubbing his temples, talking about how he knew he was capable of more. I'd talk him down. I'd remind him that most businesses don't turn a profit right away. I'd crack jokes about Amazon losing money for years before becoming Amazon. I wanted him to feel supported. I wanted him to feel like failing wouldn't make me love him less. We argued about money sometimes, but nothing that felt like a crack in the marriage. Normal relationship friction. He wanted to attend a $2,000 marketing conference. I thought it was too expensive. We compromised on a $500 local event, stuff like that. By fall of 2023, things were getting tighter. The bakery closed down. The yoga studio said they were going in a different direction. Caleb was down to just the real estate agent, pulling in $500 a month. I suggested, carefully, that maybe he pick up a part-time job while he built the business. Something steady. Something that didn't leave all the pressure on my shoulders. He didn't take it well. "You don't believe in me," he snapped. That stung, because it wasn't true. I believed in him. I just also believed in paying our mortgage. The tone in our condo shifted after that conversation. It wasn't loud. It wasn't obvious. It was a quiet resentment, like a draft you can't find, but you keep feeling the chill. Then, in February 2024, Caleb came home from a networking event more energized than I'd seen him in months. He was practically bouncing like someone had plugged him into a wall socket. "I met this incredible business coach," he said, dropping his keys and pulling out his laptop like the news couldn't wait. "Her name is Erin. She specializes in helping consultants scale to six figures." He showed me her website while I was eating leftover Chinese food. Professional headshot. Testimonials. Corporate jargon about unlocking potential and maximizing growth trajectories. The usual word salad. She says, most people fail because they're not willing to invest in themselves. Caleb continued, eyes shining. Erin has a whole methodology. Look at these success stories. I looked. They seemed legit enough. People thanking Erin for changing their business trajectory, breaking through their ceiling, becoming who they were meant to be. And then Caleb dropped the price. "It's $5,000 for a 3-month coaching package," he said quickly, like he needed to get it out before I could stop him. 2 one-on-one sessions per week, unlimited email support, access to her training materials. "I'm going to be real with you. $5,000 made me choke." "That's a lot of money," I said, trying to keep my tone calm. Diplomatic, like I was negotiating, not panicking. "It's an investment," he shot back immediately. "Erin says the only reason people stay stuck is because they refuse to bet on themselves." We went back and forth. I pointed out his business barely had revenue. He pointed out that was exactly why he needed help. I suggested cheaper courses, free YouTube content, books. He called me cheap, unsupportive. And in the end, I caved. Partially because I loved him. Partially because I wanted to support his dream. Mostly because I was tired of fighting, and he promised me this was it. 3 months. A clear timeline, a final push. "If it doesn't work," he said, "we reassess everything." I remember looking at him in that moment, my husband, my partner, and thinking, okay, one last leap. I didn't know I was signing off on something else entirely, because that night, as Caleb hugged me and thanked me for believing in him, I caught a faint scent on his hoodie, something floral, not my perfume. And for the first time in our marriage, I had the strangest, coldest thought. This isn't just about business. If I'd trusted my instincts that night, if I'd pushed harder on that unfamiliar scent, that flicker of unease, I might have saved myself months of slow emotional erosion. But love makes you generous with explanations. March 2024 came quietly. Caleb officially started his coaching sessions with Erin the first week of the month. At first, everything looked normal, almost boring. Twice a week, 1-hour Zoom calls. He took notes. He came out of the office energized, talking about mindset shifts and clarifying his value proposition. Business words, safe words. He'd tell me Erin was helping him reframe failure, break through limiting beliefs, stop underpricing himself. It all sounded reasonable, vague, but reasonable. I wanted to believe this was finally the thing that would turn everything around. The first week passed without incident. The second week is when things started stretching. The calls began running long, not 10 minutes long, hours long, 2 hours, sometimes 3. I'd glance at the clock while reheating dinner and realize he'd been in there since mid-afternoon. And I could hear him laughing. Not polite, professional laughter. Not the kind you use on work calls when someone makes a mild joke. This was different, loose, familiar. When I mentioned it casually, "Sounds like you're having fun in there," he waved it off. "She's just really engaging," he said. "Makes learning easier." "Okay, fine." Then the schedule changed. Twice a week became 3, then 4. Early mornings, 6:00 a.m., calls where he'd sneak out of bed and close the office door softly, like he didn't want to wake me. Late nights, too. Calls that stretched past 10:00 p.m. She's flexible, he explained, because I'm a premium client. That word, premium, sat strangely with me, because nothing about our bank account felt premium. I tried to be understanding. I reminded myself I didn't know how coaching worked. Maybe this intensity was normal. Maybe this was what it took to level up. What bothered me more wasn't the time. It was the effort. Before Aaron, when Caleb had Zoom calls with clients or prospects, he dressed comfortably. Sweatpants, a decent shirt, hair messy, camera cropped from the chest up, work from home casual. But for Aaron, full outfit, nice jeans, sometimes a button down, hair styled, cologne, actual cologne. The first time I noticed, I laughed. Getting all dressed up for a Zoom call now? I teased. He didn't smile. Presentation matters, he said. Aaron says if you want to show up as a successful business owner, you have to look like one, even on video. It's about mindset. There it was again, mindset. Apparently, mindset explained everything. Then Aaron's name started appearing everywhere. Aaron thinks my pricing is too low. Aaron says I shouldn't waste time on low-ticket clients. Aaron believes I've been holding myself back because I'm afraid of success. Every conversation circled back to her. I'd be talking about my day at work, an upcoming presentation, a promotion conversation, and somehow he'd pivot it into something Aaron said about energy or alignment. His phone became an extension of his hand. He texted constantly, during dinner, during movies, first thing in the morning, last thing at night. If I glanced at his screen, he'd tilt it away just a little too fast. She has an idea, he'd say quickly, just responding to a coaching prompt. Those prompts apparently involved a lot of emojis, heart emojis, smiles, smiley faces, very professional. Date nights started disappearing. Oh, I can't tonight, he'd say last minute. Aaron scheduled a critical strategy session. Weekend mornings, our time, the routines we'd built over years, were suddenly blocked off for intensive coaching. Brunch plans canceled, gym sessions skipped. This is what it takes, he snapped once when I finally said something. You said you supported me. Was that a lie? The way he said it, sharp, accusing, made me feel like I'd committed some betrayal just by asking for time with my own husband. So I backed off. I told myself not to be insecure, not to be controlling, not to be the wife who couldn't handle her husband having a female mentor. I swallowed my concerns and focused on my work. That's when the money started screaming. April 2024. End of month budget review. My habit, my comfort ritual. I pulled up our statements and nearly dropped my coffee. Another $5,000 payment. Business coaching services. The original agreement was 3 months. March, April, May. That was it. This was extra. I waited until Caleb finished one of his marathon calls, then asked him about it. She offered an extension, he said, barely looking up from his laptop. Special rate for existing clients. I'm seeing real progress. What progress? I asked. Can you show me the numbers? Wrong question. You don't understand how growth works, he snapped. Aaron says people give up right before their breakthrough. This is the worst possible time to stop. I tried a different approach. Asked him to walk me through his client pipeline. Actual leads. Conversations, data. He gave me buzzwords. Warm prospects. Relationship building. Positioning. Nothing concrete. But he was adamant. Aaron knew what she was doing. I needed to trust the process. May. Another $5,000. June. Another $5,000. July. $3,000 for an intensive workshop weekend. August. $5,000 for advanced strategy sessions. September. $4,000 for mastermind access. I watched our savings account bleed out slowly, like a patient no one was treating. By September, we were down over $30,000 in. And Caleb's business? 0 clients. 0 revenue. He'd lost the last original client months earlier. Every time I tried to bring it up, he'd get defensive, accuse me of being negative, say I didn't understand entrepreneurship, that Aaron was helping him work through deep blocks before tackling external tactics. You can't build a successful business without building a successful mindset, he told me once, like he was reciting scripture. I suggested therapy. That did not go well. You're sabotaging me, he said coldly. Aaron warned me this would happen, that people around me would try to pull me back down. That word warned hit me like ice water. Aaron had warned him about me. I didn't argue after that. What was the point? He'd already decided who the enemy was. So I went quiet. And sometimes, silence is the most dangerous place to stand because it gives you time to notice everything you've been trying not to see. Saturday, September 14th, 2024. Caleb rushed out that morning after getting a text about an urgent breakthrough session, left his laptop open on the kitchen table. I wasn't planning to snoop. I swear I wasn't. I just wanted to move it so I could eat lunch. But his email was open. And the subject line at the top of the screen wasn't business strategy. It was, "Can't wait to see you tomorrow." My heart stopped. And in that moment, before I even clicked it, I knew, deep in my bones, that whatever I was about to read was going to change my life forever. I sat down at the kitchen table like my legs had forgotten how to hold me. For a full 30 seconds, I just stared at the screen. "Can't wait to see you tomorrow." My first instinct was denial. That dangerous, comforting reflex that tells you there has to be an explanation, something innocent, something you're misreading. Coaching sessions ran long. They blurred into weekends. Maybe this was about a workshop. Maybe see you meant on Zoom. I told myself not to click. I clicked anyway. The most recent email was timestamped 11:47 p.m., the night before. From Aaron. "Baby, I've been thinking about you all day. Our sessions are the best part of my week. I know we still have to be careful, but being with you again feels like coming home. Tomorrow can't come soon enough." I felt like the air had been vacuumed out of the room. 5 minutes later, 11:52 p.m., Caleb's reply. "I know. I hate sneaking around. I wish I could just tell Alicia the truth, but I need more time. Aaron, I think I made a mistake marrying her. I should have waited for you." There it was. Not confusion, not temptation, not a slip. A choice. The room started spinning, but my hands kept moving, scrolling, clicking, consuming the wreckage at a speed that didn't feel human. Months of emails. Not professional, not even trying to be. "I've missed touching you so much. Remember how we used to spend entire weekends in bed? The coaching is great, but I wish we had more time alone." And threaded between the intimacy, like poison woven through silk, were the financial details. "The coaching fees are really helping me save for our future. Once you leave her, we'll finally be able to start fresh. California is still the dream, right?" I tasted bile. This wasn't just an affair. This was a plan. I kept scrolling until my fingers started shaking, until my chest hurt from breathing too shallow. The timestamps went back to February, right after that networking event, right after Caleb had come home glowing, telling me he'd met an incredible business coach. I opened a new tab and Googled her full name. It took less than a minute. Facebook. There they were, together, smiling. Vacation photos, anniversary posts, 2 years worth of memories, dated years before I'd ever met him. She wasn't just some mentor. She was his ex-girlfriend, the one who had come before me. I dug deeper, found an old blog post Caleb had written years ago, back when people still did that. A post about heartbreak, about being blindsided when the love of his life ended things to focus on her career, about taking 2 years to feel whole again. That woman? Erin. The same Erin I'd paid over $30,000 to welcome back into my marriage. I closed the laptop and sat in silence. No screaming, no crying, just a strange, hollow calm settling over me like frost. Here's the thing about me. I don't panic well. I'm not the type to throw plates or scream into pillows. My brain doesn't spiral emotionally. It sharpens. It narrows. It starts categorizing. And suddenly, this wasn't just betrayal. It was fraud. Every payment he'd authorized, every lie about where he was going, every coaching session disguised as a hotel check-in. I reopened the laptop, and I started documenting everything. Screenshots of every email. Downloaded the full thread as a PDF. Highlighted language about money, about plans, about lying to me. Pulled up our bank statements and marked every transfer to Aaron's LLC. Then I checked his Google Calendar. That told a story all its own. Those twice-weekly sessions, they were always blocked for the same windows, Wednesday afternoons, Friday mornings. But scattered between them were entries like coffee with Jenna, yoga class, errands. I cross-referenced those with our credit card statements. No coffee shop charges, no yoga studio membership, groceries that didn't line up. But there were hotel charges. 4 of them. Same boutique hotel downtown. Afternoon check-ins. Same-day checkouts. Each one aligned perfectly with a fake calendar entry. This wasn't spontaneous. This was organized. The emails filled in the rest. Erin hadn't stumbled into his life by accident. She'd seen his LinkedIn post about starting a business. She'd known he'd be at that February networking event. She'd positioned herself as the solution. And the coaching? It was just real enough to justify the payments. Advice designed to keep him dependent, to keep him believing he was always this close to a breakthrough, to make sure the money kept flowing. But the real business? Getting back together with her ex and having me fund it. One email from July made it crystal clear. From Caleb, I know we can't go public yet. I need time to figure out how to tell Alicia. But being with you makes me remember who I really am. I never should have settled. I should have waited for you. Aaron's reply. Take all the time you need, baby. Keep the coaching going. It gives us a reason to talk constantly. And the money helps. Once you leave her, we'll be ready. I actually laughed. Out loud. Not because it was funny, because the audacity was so complete, so confident, it felt unreal. Like reading a script written by people who had never once considered consequences. I checked the time. Caleb wouldn't be home for hours. And for the first time since opening that email, I felt grateful for that. Because if he'd walked through the door then, I might have destroyed everything before I understood how much power I actually had. Instead, I did what I do best. I built a case. I spent 4 hours in that kitchen turning heartbreak into documentation. By the time the sun started setting, I had folders, timelines, evidence that didn't rely on emotion or interpretation. Facts don't care about excuses, and these facts were damning. I called one person before I went to bed that night, a friend from college, someone who knew me well enough to hear the steel in my voice and not ask unnecessary questions. She's a divorce attorney now, one of the best. Listen, I said when she answered, I need legal advice, not as a friend, as a client. There was a pause. Okay, she said quietly. Tell me everything. So I did. When I finished, she exhaled slowly. This is bad, she said, for him. She explained it plainly. Money taken from joint accounts under false pretenses, misrepresented expenses, an affair tied directly to financial deception. This is marital fraud, she said. Textbook. And if you play this right, you have serious leverage. I stared at the wall, my reflection dark in the window. Then I want to play it right, I said. Her advice was simple. Document everything. Say nothing. Let him keep digging. So when Caleb came home that night, smiling like nothing had changed, I smiled back. I asked about his day. I asked about Aaron. And inside, something in me finally went quiet. Because the woman he thought he was fooling, she was already gone. There's a strange kind of clarity that comes after devastation. Once you've seen the worst truth, fear loses its grip. You stop wondering if something is wrong and start deciding what to do about it. That's where I lived for the next 3 months, inside a calm so controlled it almost scared me. I didn't confront Caleb. I didn't cry in front of him. I didn't accuse him. I didn't ask questions I already knew the answers to. I became normal. Too normal. Sunday morning breakfasts. Casual kisses goodbye. Polite interest in his business progress. I nodded while he talked about Erin's latest insight, her newest framework, her reassurance that he was on the brink. Inside, I was documenting the collapse of our marriage with the precision of an autopsy. Every night after he fell asleep, I worked. I synced his calendar to mine, took screenshots of every coaching session, logged every discrepancy between where he said he was and where his credit card said he'd been. Built spreadsheets that tracked dates, times, payments, locations. Patterns emerged quickly. Aaron invoiced him the first week of every month, like clockwork. He paid within hours, sometimes minutes, always from our joint account. My attorney looped in a forensic accountant. Together, we traced every dollar that left our savings. By mid-November, the total sat at $37,000. And the emails? They kept coming. Plans, promises, complaints about me. She doesn't get it. She's holding me back. She's safe, but you're real. I copied them all. Caleb thought he was managing 2 lives. What he didn't realize was that both were being archived. October brought escalation. Another $5,000 charge, this time for quarterly strategic planning. When I checked his calendar, the weekend was labeled visiting college roommate. The airline confirmation in his inbox said otherwise. Napa Valley, 2 tickets, 1 hotel room. I forwarded everything to my attorney. Her response was simple. He's making this easy. By mid-November, we had enough to bury him legally, but we waited. Because my attorney knew something Caleb didn't. Predictability is the weakness of people who think they're in control. Every month, same pattern. So when December 1st rolled around, we were ready. Right on schedule, Erin sent her invoice. $5,000, year-end intensive coaching program. December 2nd, 10:43 a.m. I got the alert that Caleb had logged into our joint account. I waited. I let him navigate to the transfer screen, let him believe the money was still there. Then I moved it, every dollar, all $43,000 that remained, transferred into my personal account. I left exactly $127 behind. 3 minutes later, my phone rang. Alessia, he said, panic leaking through every syllable. The account, it's empty. Someone hacked us. I'm in a meeting, I replied calmly. I'll deal with it tonight. This is an emergency. So is fraud, I said quietly, and hung up. He called 4 more times. I ignored them all. When I got home that evening, he was pacing the living room like a trapped animal, laptop open, phone clenched in his hand. All our savings are gone, he said. We need to call the bank. I already did, I replied, setting my bag down. I moved the money. He froze. What? I transferred it out. It's safe. You can't do that, he snapped. That's our money. No, I said, meeting his eyes for the first time in months. It's the money you've been stealing to fund your affair with your ex-girlfriend. The silence that followed was profound. Shock hit first, then confusion, then fear. What are you talking about? I walked to the coffee table and placed a thick folder down between us. 6 inches of paper, tabs, highlights, receipts. I've known since September 14th, I said evenly. Every email, every payment, every hotel, every lie. His mouth opened, closed. This is illegal, he tried. You went through my emails. Our shared laptop, our shared home, our shared account. Then anger. You don't understand. Erin is actually helping me. You have 0 clients, I cut in, negative revenue, and you've paid her $37,000 to sleep with you. Deflection failed, denial collapsed. Then came tears. I made a mistake, he sobbed. Please, we can fix this. I slid the top page of the folder toward him. Divorce papers. You didn't make a mistake, I said quietly. You made a series of calculated decisions. I'm just responding to them. He stared at the papers like they might explode. You're really doing this? I already did. His attorney called mine the next day. By mid-January, we were in settlement talks. And when my attorney placed our evidence folder on the table, the room changed. Their confidence evaporated. This wasn't a divorce. It was an accounting of consequences. And by the end of that meeting, Caleb finally understood something Erin never taught him. You can't out-strategize the person who knows the numbers. The divorce was finalized quietly. No court drama, no public spectacle, just signatures, dates, and the sound of something ending exactly the way it deserved to, cleanly. Caleb signed away his claim to the condo. He agreed to repay $32,000 on a strict schedule. Miss one payment, and the fraud case reopened. No spousal support, no negotiation. His attorney advised him to take the deal. He did. Erin vanished the moment the money stopped. No rescue, no grand reunion, just silence where promises used to be. I heard later that her coaching business was under investigation. Testimonials pulled, websites gone, the kind of disappearance that tells you everything you need to know. As for me, I kept the condo, refinanced it in my name, got promoted 6 months later, started therapy, not because I missed him, but because betrayal leaves debris even after you clear the wreckage. Caleb pays on time, every month, like clockwork. I barely notice the deposits anymore. That's the thing no one tells you about revenge. It's loud at first, then it gets boring, and boredom is peace. I didn't ruin his life. I didn't need to. I just stopped funding the lie.